Alright YouTube, in this video we are going to create grocery app. This is the 22nd project, JavaScript project. You can see even if I refresh, the list is getting, it is not getting disappeared, it is staying over there. If you wish to add some more item, you can add it. You can see now if you click on mango, it is going to save the state that is checked. Even after getting refresh, it is going to stay because we have stored it in the local storage. We have already seen many local storage project, but this is different because we are saving the state of the checkbox in the local storage. If you check the console, if you get into the application tab, you will see local storage. You can see there are 4 items and they are in the object form. The first one is text and the second one is simply the boolean value. If you see the mango, it is true. If you see other, it is false. Now let's check the apple. You can see now it's false. Now it has changed to true. If I toggle it, now it's false. You can toggle it and the value is stored on the local storage. Even if I refresh, it is not getting affected because of it is stored in the local storage. Fine. Now you can see, to follow with me, I'll leave the source code in the description. Now these are the steps that we are going to follow in this tutorial. Fine. As I said, this is the 22nd project, JavaScript project. We have already done 20 JavaScript project. Now this is the source code. This is how you get. We will be having 3 files: HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Let me start the JavaScript from scratch. Now let me explain you the HTML. If you see, we have one heading, which is the grocery app, and we have a form, and this form holds two input type equal text and input type equal to segment. Make sure the form action is JavaScript void. Now you will have the UL, which will dynamically have the li items. Fine. Now I have added some ID to it. The very first thing what we are going to do is we are going to save all input value to object. For that, we are going to get the input value, the form and the unordered list in JavaScript. We are going to get it with the help of document.getElementById. We have to pass the ID. For the form, it's simply the form. I'm going to store it into a variable called form. Now we have 3 more elements, HTML elements. The first one, let's make it input field. The second one is the unordered list with the ID UL. You have to store it to a variable. Let me make it UL as same, but we will change the text as input. Fine. We will follow the next step. I'll paste the steps also in the description. Fine. Now we are going to add listener to the form. When the form is getting submitted, I want function to get executed. Let me add event listener to it. The event is simply submit, and the second parameter will be triggered when you click on submit. So let me show you the message as you clicked submit. Now if you click on submit, you can say you clicked on submit. That is working fine. This will only work. Make sure you have added action JavaScript void, or else you have to add e.prevent default to it. Now get the input field. We have already stored it into a variable which is text, which is input. To get the value, dot value is a property to get the value of the input field. If you type anything and click on add, you will get the alert with the text. Fine, that's working. Now we are going to create an object in JavaScript. Let me store it into a variable, the input value, which is text. Let me create an object, and this object, let me name it as item. It will have 2 key value pairs here. The first one is text. The text will simply the text. This text by input text is getting saved as text. Now the second one is done, which will have the value as false. Now we are going to store the input value to object. As I have already shown you, to store the input value, you just have to pass the variable over here, and that's done. Now if you console and see the object, let's check the console. Now get into the console tab. what should happen when you type something on the input field and click on add, it should show an object populated with the typed letter. Now I have typed apple, that's why in the object it is showing text equal to apple and done is false, and that's working. Now let's check one more thing. We have completed the first one. Now let's save the object to array. This is the object, item is simply the object. Let's create an array, empty array called items. Now we have created the array. Now insert the object to array. To insert the object, let me show you, before inserting, let me show you what is the problem with it. Let me comment it. If you type apple, you will see the message in console in separate. If you type mango, again it's separate. If you type orange, now it's a separate object. We don't need as a separate object, we need a single bundle of all objects. That's the reason why I have used array. So I have passed these single value inside the array. So these all single value, you can access it. You just have to you just have to pass the array. Now if you check apple, now it's mango, you can see all the objects are inside array. Now our array is simply the collection of objects. The next step, we are going to display the value of array as list item. For that I'm going to create a function. Let's name the function as populate. After I push all the object inside array, I'll call a function, and this function will create the dynamic list item, which is li. Now use the map function in array to return a new array. The map function will simply return a array. So the map will accept two parameters. The first one is 1 by 1 object and the second one is simply the index of it. 1 by 1 object. We have already 4 objects inside it in the previous example. Fine. Now we can access each of them individually inside the app. So we will surround it inside the HTML, which is list item. So it's an object and it has two keys. The first one is text and the second one is done. So let's check with the text. The text is simply the input value. Let me return it. Let me console the message. Console the message, which is X. Let's check whether we are getting the array. Yes, we are getting the array, but you can see it's an array. We don't need it as an array, we need it as an string. So for that, what I'll do is, you can see it's an array mango, and you can say you will get 2 list item. Orange, you'll get 3 list item inside the array. We don't need the array, we need the string. So for that, dot join, it will convert the array into the string. Now if you refresh, if you click on submit, you can see you will only getting the string as in HTML form. Sorry, you will getting the HTML form in the string format. Now we have done this. Now append the HTML to UL. We have already called the UL and stored it into a variable called ul.innerHTML. Now we don't need the console message, we can actually see the message on the HTML itself because we have appended it. Apple, you can see apple is showing up, mango will show up, orange will show up. Fine. Now we need the checkbox as well, so let me create the checkbox also. So this would be the label. Let me create a checkbox. Input type equal to checkbox. Sorry for that. And I'll be having a ID to the checkbox. So the ID should match the label. That's the reason why I'm passing ID. So if you click on label, the ID should get checked, the checkbox should get checked. So inside the for, I will use the ID. So the reason is, if you click on the label, you will automatically select the checkbox. Now if you type something, you will get two. The first one is label, the first one is checkbox, and the second one is label. Fine, that's working. Now if you check on the label, you can see even if I check on the label, it is getting checked and unchecked. That's working fine. Now if you see the HTML element, there would be item 0, item 1 and item 2 as an ID. This is item 0, this is item 1 and this is item 2. So that ID is passed into the labeler. Fine. Now let's store the array in local storage. We know the local storage stores the value in the key format, key and value format. So let's create a local storage, convert the array to string. Why I'm doing it? Because the local storage only stores the string format, because we have an array. We'll create a key and we will pass the string, not the array. Now it's an array. We'll convert it to string using JSON.stringify. Fine. Now we'll see, convert the string to, we will see, let me see the browser first. If you refresh, it is not showing up. Click on add. Now in the local storage, you can see the value is there. I have added mango, I have added orange. You can see these three values are there, but if you refresh, it will go. Now what I'm doing is, we need to populate it. So for that, what we are going to do is, if for the first time use the array, for the second time use the local storage. So now it's the second time because we have already added local storage. So the second time we'll load the local storage inside the item variable, and we know the local storage holds the string, but we need the array. So let's convert the array to string using JSON.parse. Now if you refresh, you can see these three values should automatically come here, because we have not populated it. Let me populate it. To populate it, we just have to call the function populate after the JSON.parse. Now if you refresh, it will come as it was in the local storage. Now you can see it's in the HTML. Let me add one more item. It's there. You can see, if you refresh, it is still coming. Now we are going to save the state. If you refresh, the apple check has gone. Now if you see, it's still the false. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to use the event delegation. What is event delegation? Since the list item is dynamically created, the click function will not work. So for that, we have to call the parent, and we have to add event, which is click, and this event will also be applicable for the child, for all the child. To access the child individually, what we are going to do is e.target. Let me show you the message on console. E.target will show the item inside the list, another item inside the UL. So if you click on li, you will see the li is getting up. If you click on the label, you will be getting two, label and input. Now if you click on li, only li shows up, but if you click on label, you will getting two. We just need the input. So for that, I will use a function called matches, and inside the matches I will be passing input. So if it's only input, then what we are going to do is, we'll do some operation. So before that, let me check. whether we are getting only input field or the combination of list item and label. We have an error. Let's see what it is. It's simply we have to pass it inside a parameter, sorry, inside double quotes, sorry, single quotes. Fine. Now if you see, we click, we are getting only the input. Previously we was getting li and we was getting list item. Now we will get the data index. Simply the data attribute, we will pass the data attribute to the checkbox data hyphen index, and we will pass the index number of the array. Now if you click on anything, you'll get the index of the array. Now let's access the index. We'll pass this index, we'll store it into a variable called index, and we will pass this index to the array. So let's see what we get. We will get the object because we are passing the index and calling what's inside it. We click on mango, you'll get the object of mango. Let me console dot log it. Simply we will get the object because we are calling it with the key, sorry, we are calling it with the index. Now that's working. Now you can see, let's make it true. We need just only the property which is done. Everyone has false, so that's the reason. Now let's make it true. To make it true, what we are going to do is we just assign true to it, but that doesn't simply do the work. So let me show you. By showing a message, let me see. If you click on apple, previously it was false, but it will be true now because we have made it true. You can see apple is true. If you click on mango, other than mango everything is false, the mango would be true. Yeah, now we need the opposite because to have the previous state. If it's true, it will be false. If it's false, it will be true, because then we will, that's the reason I am making it opposite. Now let's store this value inside the local storage. So let me copy the same thing and pass it to the local storage. Now if you refresh, let me get into the application. You can see there are four of them are false. You can see if I click on each of them, it is getting converted to true. If I tick again, it is getting toggled to false. It is switching back and forth because we have used exclamatory. Fine. Now since we have made it, now if you refresh it, the state is going up because we'll use a if else condition on the input field. We'll use the ternary operator, which is if it's true, then make it checked, or do nothing. If it's true, it will be checked. If it's not true, it will be nothing. Fine. If I refresh it, it is saving the state. If you click on pineapple, it's true now. Even if you refresh, it stays. Thank you so much for listening. Get the source code in the description.